All right, let's dive into one of history's most bizarre and frankly terrifying medical mysteries, the dancing plague of 1518.
I want you to just picture this scene for a second. It's a hot summer day. The streets are packed with people, but they're not celebrating. They are locked in this grotesque, unending dance. This isn't a party, it's a plague. And the wildest part? It all started with just one person.
Just one. That's all it took to kick this whole thing off. A single, solitary dancer.
Her name was Frau Troffea, and on July 14th, in the city of Strasbourg, she just walked out of her house and started to dance. But there was no music, there was no joy, just this relentless, compulsive movement that she absolutely could not stop, for days. And then, that's when things went from strange to downright terrifying. Within just a few weeks, that one dancer had become over 400. An entire city was consumed by this bizarre compulsion.
So what exactly was this unstoppable dance? Well, people who saw it said it wasn't graceful at all. It was convulsive, it was agonizing. It was a true epidemic of movement that defied all logic.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? What on earth could possibly compel hundreds of people to literally dance until they collapsed from heart attacks, strokes, and just pure, sheer exhaustion? Let's investigate.
So, our first clue doesn't actually lie with the victims themselves, but with the city. You see, Strasbourg in 1518 was, well, it was not a happy place. The city was basically on the verge of a collective nervous breakdown.
I mean, just look at this laundry list of crises they were dealing with all at once. You've got these brutal climate swings causing famine. Then there's hyperinflation, so even if you could find bread, you probably couldn't afford it. And on top of all of that, you've got this nightmare cocktail of diseases, the plague, leprosy, and the new horror of syphilis. You mix that with social unrest and a deep-seated fear of God's wrath, and you have the perfect recipe for profound collective anxiety.
So the crucial point here is that the people of Strasbourg were already stretched to their absolute breaking point. The entire city was a powder keg of stress, just waiting for something, anything, to set it off.
So how did the authorities respond to all this? You'd think they would try to calm things down, right? Well, no. Instead, their official response was a catastrophic failure, a cure that actually made the disease deadlier. The city's physicians, they rejected supernatural causes. Their diagnosis was purely naturalistic, a condition they called hot blood. They believed the afflicted had overheated blood that was forcing their limbs to move. And their cure for this? Well, it was logical in a completely flawed way. Get this. Their big plan was to force people to dance the fever out. So they rounded up the dancers, built a stage for them right in the middle of the city, and even hired drummers and pipers to provide a constant beat. They thought if they just forced the dancers to keep moving, they would eventually burn off the hot blood and be cured. And this right here is the tragic irony. By creating a public spectacle, complete with a soundtrack, they didn't cure the plague. They created a theater of hysteria that just threw in more and more suggestible, stressed-out onlookers. They amplified it.
At the peak of the outbreak, this cure was helping to kill up to 15 people a day. They were dying from dehydration, exhaustion, and heart failure, all while the city's musicians just played on.
So if it wasn't hot blood, what was it? Well, for centuries, two main theories have competed to explain the dancing plague. Think of it like a showdown, a poison of the body versus a poison of the mind.
On one side, we have ergotism. This is a physical poisoning from a fungus that grows on rye bread. It can cause convulsions and hallucinations. Sounds plausible, right? On the other side, we have mass psychogenic illness, or MPI. This is a psychiatric condition where extreme psychological stress shows up as real physical symptoms.
Okay, let's look at the evidence. The poison theory, ergotism, just doesn't fit the facts. The symptoms are wrong. Ergotism causes these agonizing spasms, not sustained dancing. It also doesn't explain why Frau Troffea would dance for days while her husband, who presumably ate the same bread, was totally fine. The case against a physical poison is pretty strong.
Which brings us to mass psychogenic illness. This is the modern diagnosis. It's a phenomenon where a group of people, all under immense stress, start to unconsciously convert that mental trauma into physical symptoms. It's basically a collective nervous breakdown.
So the verdict is in. The dancing plague wasn't caused by tainted bread, but by a perfect storm of fear, desperation, and superstitious belief. It was a fever of the mind that hijacked the body.
But the story doesn't end in 1518. This bizarre event has echoed through history, culture, and even modern medicine, showing us just how strange and powerful the human mind can really be. The plague of 1518, for instance, directly inspired fairy tales like The Red Shoes, about a girl cursed to dance uncontrollably. And the phenomenon itself isn't unique. As recently as 1962, a laughter epidemic that started in a school in Tangikia affected over 1,000 people. It's the same mechanism, just a different symptom.
And that's really the crucial point of this entire story. The dancing plague is a terrifying and powerful example of the mind's ability to turn belief into biology. The people of Strasbourg believed they were cursed by a saint to dance, and so their bodies, under the weight of extreme stress, obliged.
And that leaves us with a fascinating and maybe slightly unsettling final question. The triggers have changed. We no longer fear the wrath of St. Vitus. But in our own age of global anxiety and rapid-fire social contagion, you really have to wonder, what are our modern-day dancing plagues? How does our society dance?